Welcome back to another episode on the Doughty podcast. My name is Doughty, and today I'm going to be sharing with you honestly, this year, it's one of the most transformative levels of shadow work that I've done. And it was a level of shadow work that I had no idea really had that much of an impact on me. At certain levels, actually, I kind of did know and had a feeling towards some of it, but this has to do with ancestral healing. And it was something that was completely kind of came out of left field when I started working with it. But the more I dug deep into this by doing and asking questions, the more I found there was to unpack. And it completely transformed the patterns in my life. It completely transformed how I show up in the world. And also just how I feel about myself, my sense of worthiness. When you understand that a lot of the issues you're dealing with are patterns that may have been in your ancestry line, meaning there's an energetic field around your body. And because you were once inside your mom, there's part of the patterns that were within her energetic field inside of you. And then since your mom was inside of her mom, it keeps going down the line. There's energetic field that keeps being perpetuated. And it's not just the mom, but it's also the dad. So with this ancestry healing, it's about understanding that the energy field of the family is something that continues to play out different life themes over and over again until someone breaks the pattern. And that's the good news with this episode. I'm going to share with you how I broke my own pattern of this, how you can do that, but also just some of the stuff that I've unraveled about myself, and how really for this process, awareness really is the key. The more aware you become of these patterns inside of you that you've been priorly unaware of, the more free you become. And I'm going to share with you and get very, very vulnerable in here. I'm going to share some things that I probably see how much I actually share. Some of it's very dark stuff, but I think that me sharing with you how much it's transformed me and being very vulnerable with you will show you how you can go within yourself and within your own family to ask them questions and then to get different answers. And my guess is that there's also different repetitive patterns in your life, and you may not understand exactly where they come from. And when you start to become aware of it, that's when then also if you become aware of it's a pattern that your mom or your dad had, you can then see that it may have just been a pattern that you took on, thinking you had to. Sometimes in order to be loved, we think that we have to play out certain patterns, or we just model the behavior of our parents because we believe that our parents know better than us. And subconsciously, we model behavior when we're growing up. So there's certain patterns in my own life that have been my dad's, my mom's, or a family lineage. And it's a theme that we can heal. And here's the best thing. When you heal it now, you also heal the past timeline. So you do a big service to your family. And then also you heal your future timelines if you have kids, your offspring, or just your future self as well. I really think right now on the planet too, just to get a little more esoteric, I think right now on the planet what we're going through is a merging of timelines to where the only time that exists is now. And we have the ability to literally heal the past and to heal the future right now in this present moment. Now, let me also share this with you. This is something that I did to amplify my own level of shadow work. So here's what I've done since yesterday. So I've already done half. I'll explain a little bit about the process that I'm using, the ancestry healing process. But what I'm doing is there's 4 main lines that I'm working with. I'm working with my mom's mom, my mom's dad, my dad's mom, and my dad's dad. So those 4 main family lines, and then of course that includes the energy of my parents on both sides of that as well. But healing those energy lines. So what I did is I've already done my dad's dad and my mom's dad, and I'll share with you some of the stuff I found out about that. And then last night I did my mom's mom, and then I still have to do my dad's mom. So I've done 3 out of the 4, and then I have like one other exercise to do after that. And this has all been at the guidance of my friend Bridget. I don't know, some of you guys may know who she is, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm actually going to be bringing her on the podcast soon, and we're going to go deep on understanding all of this type of information. But there's a process I'm going through that I'll also share with you guys in case you want to go through the same process. It's been extraordinarily powerful for me. And basically, this is what I've done these last 2 days to amplify the shadow work. Now, shadow work is anytime you're going within yourself to learn more about your own unconscious, and you go in with the awareness, looking for awareness, but also feeling to heal it. You feel it, you heal it. So I'm going in, I'm literally feeling this connection to my different ancestors, even if I've never met them. That's the thing. The energy of your ancestors is inside your energetic field. And if you meditate or get into a meditation practice or do a exercise, you can connect to and the energy of it, even if you don't know them. Now, if you do know them, that's even better because you can ask them questions. And that's what I did. I asked like 30 questions of my dad, 30 questions to my mom, got so much information that I didn't even know. And guess what? The best part about this is they felt it was almost like a bonding thing where I was able to connect to my mom and my dad in even a deeper way. But if your parents you don't have access to or they passed away, you can tap into their field, tap into the energy, and connect to them. Even if there was trauma that happened, even if bad stuff happened, we shed these physical bodies at the end of our life, and many times as souls we become aware of how we were, maybe how we were not like the effects that we had on some people, and they feel maybe not necessarily, maybe bad, or they want forgiveness, or they want to forgive, and whatever it is, you can connect to the other side or connect to that energy as well. So here's what I did to amplify the shadow work. I am doing something right now called a dry fast. I have not had water. My mouth might sound a little bit dry. My mouth might sound a little dry. I have not had water or food since 2 days ago at 7 o'clock p.m. So I've gone 24, 36, 37, about almost 38 to 40 hours in to a dry fast. And I'll probably go to the end of today. I'm either thinking of going to tomorrow, so it'd be like a 72-hour dry fast, or breaking it today. I'm not sure. Because sleep, sometimes when I dry fast, my sleep gets sort of messed up for a period of time until my body adjusts. Dry fasting is its own thing. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you guys to dry fast. Consult your doctor and everything, stuff I have to say just to be clear. I don't want people... I've been fasting for a while. I've been doing intermittent fasting for years. Dry fasting, you tap into this state called autophagy. And autophagy is basically where the little cells in the body, there's the cells in your body that are like the badass macho cells, go and eat the little bitch cells. And it's like extraordinarily healing. But also, it turns the body into like a fat burning mode, and it completely revitalizes the immune system. Fasting is I think fasting and dry fasting is one of the best kept secrets. I know somebody that knows somebody, this is going to sound kind of vague, that's in the pharmaceutical industry. And basically what this person said is that the person that's in the pharmaceutical industry knows, and it's like a known thing, that almost anything can be cured with dry fasting. Or prolonged fasting. Maybe it's not dry fasting, but it's prolonged fasting. Because when the body's in a fasting state, autophagy kicks in, and literally it has this profound effect on the immune system. And a lot of times when you starve the body of carbs and sugar, it then doesn't have the acidic environment that it needs to spread. So there's people that have healed all sorts of things doing dry fasting and fasting in general. But like I said, consult your doctor. I'm realizing that when I say things, people many times will kind of jump in, and I've been doing this for a while, so I've kind of know my body. I've done as much as a 3-day dry fast, and then like a 5-day fast in general. So I did 5-day fast. The first 2 or 3 days was dry, meaning no water, and then the last 2 days was with water. And it was very profound. I mean, by like the 4th day, you feel high as a kite. The first 2 or 3 days kind of suck because you're hungry. But then your body adapts, and then you're not hungry, and you feel high, and it's almost like you don't need sleep. Maybe I don't know if there's more cortisol in your system or what, but you don't need sleep. But the body's just literally going through a process of, it's going into starvation mode. There's like evidence too that a lot of people that were in the Holocaust, that didn't have food, a lot of them ended up living to be like 90, 100 years old. And it's interesting because I think that state, that it really revitalized the body many times, even though it was starvation. But I think fasting, and there's a lot of religions that do it. I do it for more spiritual purposes. When I fast, I'm much more intuitive. I'm much more tapped in because the energy of my body's not going into having to digest all the food. Even just the water. There's contaminants in water. So it's something to kind of think about as well. Now for me, this last 2 days I've been doing dry fasting, which means when I did my mom's side of the family, which is probably one of the heaviest ones on my whole family line out of the 4, I was really able to tap into I'm more sensitive. So when I'm tapping into the energy and feeling it and healing it, it seems to have more powerful impact. And my intuition seems to be even more opened. So that's something that I'm pairing with this. So with this ancestral process of healing, I have now merged in a little bit of dry fasting, or people could do water fasting, if it resonates with them. But that's what I did, and I tell you, it does amplify it a lot, just because intuitive abilities go off the charts, and you just feel, it's a very spiritual feeling. You do start thinking about food a lot, though, I will say that. When you're hungry, you're like, I remember when I did that first 5-day fast, where the first 2 or 3 days were dry fast, and the last 2 days were water fast. I remember I was watching food videos. Literally what you're doing, though, is there's parasites. There's these little worms inside our gut that we're sometimes wondering, why do I crave certain foods? And many times the reason we crave certain foods is because there's parasites inside of our gut that crave the food. They crave the sugar. And when you do a dry fast, you literally are killing off. If you do like a 3 or 4 day, or even just a regular water fast, you get to the autophagy. You starve those parasites and they die. You literally poop them out. It might sound like TMI. Anyways, it's funny because as I clean out the inside of my body, I'm also cleaning out the inside of my energy field with this ancestral healing. So now what I wanted to do is I wanted to share a little bit, let me grab my paper here, of all the questions that I've asked, not all of them, but I'll share some of them with you, that I've asked my dad, that I've asked my mom, and kind of share a little bit about some of these patterns that came up in both the questions that I asked my dad, but also and let me share with you how this actually got brought up. I was at a high vibe dinner in Sedona, which is my other house. So I travel back and forth between Vegas and Sedona. And in Sedona, I'm there about half the time and here about half the time. I live in that house with my buddies Drew and his girlfriend Rebecca, and we sometimes have these high vibe dinners, and a whole bunch of high vibe people come over, like probably 12 to 15 to 20 people will come over, and we'll do this like potluck dinner type thing. We do it like once a month. And we did this one, and we were doing like kebabs and stuff, and it was cool. At the end, we were all sitting on the patio, and we're like, let's go in a circle and talk about our intention for fall, because fall or winter, which is coming up. And I was talking about, we all go in a circle, we share our intentions, and, many people had really cool intentions. And when I shared about my intention of really letting go of my need for approval and self-worth. I think that it's important as I've grown and become more successful to really let go of thinking that it's Aaron, or like part of me, I think, craves to be noticed, craves significance. Because I don't think that I really got it growing up. And maybe a lot of people didn't believe in me too when I started this journey on YouTube. And I felt judged. And I think I had low self-esteem from growing up and doing the shadow work on my own self-worth. And I think that one thing I wanted to do is to really prove myself to other people. So now that there's more followers on YouTube or subscribers or whatever, I think part of my ego likes that. And what my intention is for me to really surrender that ego and to really remain in knowing that I'm worthy for just being me, and that I don't need a certain level of validation. I don't need to get a certain, you fall into a trap on YouTube sometimes, because then it's like, it's always about, it's chasing views, chasing validation. Are you getting as many views as you did 3 months ago? Are you still growing at the same rate? Like, all these things come up, and it's like, there's like a sense of tide of worthiness to it. And what I've realized is that my goal in fall or winter this year is to really like let go of that sense of significance. And I believe that I'm going to be so much more powerful when I really surrender that and I let go. And I've done that in some little ways by like not making as much content, even though deep down there's a belief that if I don't make as much content, I'm not going to grow as fast. But that was like one of my intentions. I was talking about my sense of worthiness, and I talked about a lot of the shadow work I was doing on feminine, masculine polarity within myself, healing my feminine wound from the ex-stepmom situation. And as I shared this, my friend Bridget and her boyfriend Blair, Blair actually, after we went out in the circle, we were just chilling talking, he explained to me something that happened, like how certain patterns from his ancestors, from his dad and from stuff like that affected his life. And he felt like intuitively guided to tell me about that. And I've been feeling this calling to do this ancestral healing work for like months. And I just like haven't taken the signal, but I took that as a sign. And my friend Bridget, who teaches this stuff, was explaining me this process. And I was talking about certain things. Very interesting scenario, but there's a man. I'm trying to decide how much of this I want to share. But if I'm a pretty vulnerable person though, so I'll just share a lot of these parts, which is about different sides of the family. But in general, there's a lot of sexual shame that my mom went through growing up. My mom ran away from home when she was 11, 12 years old. Due to like sexual abuse from her dad, which I guess would be my grandpa. And she ran away. She got put in a foster family. And that, when I talk about my grandpa that passed away, it's my mom's foster dad that passed away. So my mom experienced a lot of sexual shame. And I was kind of talking about that to my friend Bridget, who teaches this stuff. And it was interesting because as I started talking about my mom's side of the family, our dog Jonah, who's like Rebecca and Drew's dog, but also, house dog, and there's Jonah and Sage. Jonah comes up as I mention my mom's side of the family and starts humping Bridget's arm, which this sounds kind of, I've never seen Jonah do this. Jonah has humped other dogs before, but never a person. And I've been there for months, and I've been in San Diego from like at periods of time, and I've never seen Jonah do this. And she said, this is what happens. There's a certain type of exercises you do where different energy patterns work themselves out as you do this kind of work. And it's almost like a therapy channeling thing where the synchronicity comes in. So that dog humping Bridget at the moment I talked about my family line, and think about it, the dog just came up and just started doing it. Didn't even dogs don't ask, but you know what I mean? Like, there was definitely a signal and a sign there that there was something there for me to look at. And because within myself, I felt like there was some blockage with me in my relationship, because I feel like there's like a feminine wound from my ex-stepmom. But even at a sexual level, there's a part of myself that I think I hold myself back from being as sexually expressive to, or not even sexually expressive, because I love like feeling intimate and close and I love sex. But I think what it is there's some type of block that was there that I never understood. And as I was able to look into this, I was able to see this sexual shame, how that may have affected and been in my own energy field in a way for me to heal. So that happened, and in that moment, I knew that I have to like focus on this ancestral healing stuff. So I committed myself to it, and I did my mom's side, or that was the last one I did. I did I started off. They say that in general, the gender you are, the parents of that gender tend to have a pattern that's very sometimes more powerful than the other one. So if you're a male, your dad's dad and your mom's dad may have had a strong impact on your energy pattern. And if you're a female, it may be on your mom, and your dad's mom. So it's kind of an interesting thing, but that's why I did my dad's dad first and my mom's dad first. And also the sexual shame, I think, I wanted to really clear that, because that was within, my mom's energy field, and I think the sexual shame was on both. There's a heavy emphasis on my mom's side of the family with this. And I never really knew. I knew about it. I knew my mom went through a lot of shit growing up, and a lot of pain and a lot of trauma for her to run away at such a young age. But I had no idea to the extent of it and how that could actually impact my life. And part of this healing work as well is getting to the core of the ancestry line as well, looking at the ancestors that you have. Like, I'm Scottish, Irish, and German. And looking at the ancestry lines of this and the kind of things that maybe these ancestors went through, and the way that Bridget explained it to me is that when there's a trauma in the family, there's times that it then opens up the trauma within the ancestry line. So maybe the trauma within the German line, the trauma within the Scottish line, the trauma within the Irish line. It almost allows that trauma to come in even more without us even knowing it. Whereas if it was totally fine and there was just positive flow energy, it doesn't pick up on the trauma of that timeline. It actually can pick up on the positive. There's a positive German energy. There's a positive Irish energy. There's a positive Scottish energy that can flow through that is very powerful. And when we heal this, we allow that power to flow through, and we carry with us a new level of confidence. I feel new confidence since I've been doing this work. So, the first thing I did is I asked my dad a whole bunch of questions, and I'll just kind of summarize some of the stuff. And one thing I really wanted to understand is why my dad is such a nice guy. My dad is super nice to a fault, nice to a place to where he gets taken advantage of. My dad's very good at what he does. He's a fire investigator, but he's attracted my ex-stepmom, and many of you know my story, but the ex-stepmom was in my life from 7 to 16 years old, controlling, mentally, physically, emotionally abusive, and 16 years old came around, my dad divorced her, and it was like a whole new world. It was like being free, able to eat the food that we wanted to, able to have friends, able to watch TV, didn't have to work outside all day, able to go to school and go to school activities. Before that, everything was like my brother and I were in a little box. We weren't allowed to have friends. We weren't allowed to watch TV. All we were doing is working outside all the time. And what I wanted to know is why my dad attracted that, but also why my dad was always been such a nice guy. So what I learned is through asking my dad and also my grandma on my dad's side these questions, I never really knew anything about my dad's dad because he passed away when I was a couple years old, but I never met him. But my dad wasn't extremely close to him. Wasn't that close to him, actually. He was much closer to my Nana. And my Nana and Papa divorced early on, and I think that had an effect on my dad. But also, I found out that my dad's dad was a very nice guy. Like, my grandma said that he would have trouble saying no on doing things for other people. He'd always be offering to do things for other people. Oh, I'll fix this, or I'll do this. And it would drive my Nana nuts because my Nana would be like, no, we need to spend time with the family. We need to do this. We need to do that. And he just couldn't say no, which is interesting because my dad is a super nice guy who sometimes doesn't say no, doesn't stand up, and isn't necessarily very comfortable with tension, with saying things that get a certain response. And I've had to really, this is one thing I've been really transforming this last year, is this aspect of myself that was being a nice guy or a people pleaser. And I've definitely wired this in this year more and more, and I'm sure there's little layers of it to continue to let go of. But one thing that I've had to become aware of is my ability to be okay with tension. Because you're a nice guy, you don't like tension. When I was experiencing the negativity of my ex-stepmom, I was a lot of tension, so I associated that tension with bad. Not knowing that in sexual polarity, masculine, feminine dynamics, being able to hold tension is a very powerful thing and a very almost necessary thing so that the feminine can feel safe. And what this means too is I've had to grow my boundaries, been okay with saying no, been authentic to myself. And the nice guy, the shadow of the nice guy is willing to not be authentic to gain approval and validation. So the nice guy will say, oh, it will be very agreeable. Yeah, right. Instead of being firm with who they are and being authentic. And that's something that I could see. It's like being nice to gain validation is doing something to get something. It's manipulation, really. Being a nice guy is manipulation. And it's saying that if I do this, then you'll do this for me. And it doesn't really work. The key to the nice guy is being aware of your own sense of worthiness and then being you because you prioritize that over gaining validation of other people. That's really what it is. To overcome being a nice guy, it's about looking at your own self-worth and valuing authenticity, even if that means tension and polarization. Some people will like you, some people won't like you. That's okay, because you know how you feel about yourself, and it's more authentic. It feels good. It is so liberating to actually express these things. I've had things happen in my life over the last couple months that I've really wired in not being nice. Doesn't mean I'm being a dick. Sometimes it does mean I'm being a dick, but it means that I'm being authentic. What do I really feel? What is really okay? What is really not okay? And it's liberating as fuck. It is so liberating to be like, it's like, oh, I can say no. Oh, I can say what I actually want to do. I can choose to do what I want to do. In a way, nice guys attract narcissists because nice guys have something to learn from narcissists. And even though narcissists are the complete other side of the spectrum, they're tearing down other people's buildings, they're completely selfish. It's almost like there's a small part of that selfishness that would be beneficial to the people pleaser or the nice guy. And this could work for women too. There's women that are also, I guess, nice women, or I don't know what you call that. But it's like a metaphor. People pleaser also. And if you were to learn to be a little bit selfish, that's kind of the cure. And on the other side of that, the cure to the narcissist is learning to be more compassionate and empathetic, which is what they could learn from the people pleaser, the nice guy, right? But anyways, I look in my dad's line and I can see that my dad's dad was the same way. And there was this healing exercise I did where I connected to my dad's dad, my dad's dad, like all the way, like 7, generations back. What I found out was, by tapping into this energy, about 3 or 4 generations back, one of the dads was like in the military or something and very strict, very rigid. And that caused one of the grandpas to not feel worthy and enough, and then to be a people pleaser, and to associate them getting validation from other people by doing and being a certain way. And what eventually happened, though, is that then that's how that person became, and then it just started trickling down the line. Went to my dad's dad, and then my dad, and then to me, where I had to break the pattern. I had to break the pattern and realize that it's inauthentic to be nice like that, to want and crave validation from other people, and that it's a good thing to be on your mission, on your purpose, be authentic, not care what people think, be okay with tension, claiming what you want, what you don't want, being in that masculine frame. And it's a healthy masculine energy too. I'm not saying be a narcissistic asshole. But that was a huge epiphany for me, becoming aware of that. So that was another thing is my dad's dad had a son that my dad never met. So my dad has a brother, a half-brother in the world that he's never met before. And one of the reasons was because he had a marriage before my grandma, and that person's family didn't want my dad's dad in the equation, so it was kind of ostracized from him. That was kind of interesting. I never knew that. That was something I never knew. I found out that my dad and mom's divorce when I was 5 years old, that really was devastating to my dad. And I never knew that. I never knew that I was so devastated. My dad said it was like very difficult for him. And I can imagine that it being difficult for him moving out of that relationship when I was like 4 or 5 years old, that could have had a very powerful effect on my own energy, dampening it. And the power of understanding this stuff, by the way, is that when you become aware that it's not your stuff and you heal it by sending energy and love to it and then cutting your connection and asking to clear the energy from those lines, you become free. You become free, and it's amazing. And then you literally feel light, like it's baggage off your shoulders, and you're not carrying around these weights So that was something that also my dad was telling me, that he always had this savior fixer complex where he wanted to like fix and help people. And he realized that he was always like my ex-stepmom. He was trying to be a fixer with her because she was so angry and mad and controlling. And that was something very interesting for me to find out. And then I found out that my uncle, who passed away, who was a big inspiration to me, he owned a business, and he was the only one in the family that didn't really that owned a business that was the most successful. And then that showed me like, hey, I don't need to go to finish college to be successful. I wasn't passionate about college, and I just always felt, he was like a go-getter type mentality. He passed away right after he retired. Interesting how that happens. It happens a lot. People retire, and then it's almost like he was like 40-something years old. Oh, no, he's like 50. He retired and then got this brain cancer thing, and died within a year. And this is a little side note. But anyways, yeah, it was very interesting because he was also very nice. So they were both that way, right? My uncle and my dad. Could that came from the dad? Maybe not having a strong masculine role model growing up too. That could have been it too. So what I've had to do to heal also is give myself and to be in that masculine energy, but also to heal my feminine wound, because when you're in the unhealthy feminine, because you have a feminine wound, and that feminine wound, I believe, came from my ex-stepmom, who was very abusive, and that was, she held us from seeing our real mom, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff. But healing that then allows me to be more on my purpose, to be more in my own energy, to feel worthy, whole, and complete. And doing this work, by the way, as well, has had me to a place to where I don't need or crave a love relationship. I'm like totally okay with me being myself and feeling worthy for just being me and focusing on myself. And I think before doing this work, there was a part of me that felt like I had to, or I should be doing something else, or I feel totally good being myself and just filling up my own cup, feeling more 100% worthy, whole, and complete, and doing this healing shadow work too. So, my Nana really raised my dad a lot, because my dad's dad wasn't around that much. My dad didn't really have a masculine role model, which probably led to, and that the role model that he did have when he was around was like a people pleaser, nice guy. So because there wasn't that masculine role model, my dad didn't learn it, so it wasn't my dad's fault. But I'm able to see that pattern and how I could break that pattern by realizing it's not mine. And I could wire in what's actually authentic for me, because at my core, I'm actually a very goofy person. I mess around a lot. I think one of the reasons I mess around a lot and I have a very childlike mentality is because growing up, I didn't really have a childhood. From 6, 7 to 15 years old, I wasn't allowed to have fun or be playful. So now my authentic core is me being actually really playful. But the other side of that is I'm very assertive. I'm a very assertive person. When I want something, I go get it. That's my natural core. But I make exceptions when I fall into these old patterns of my dad's or habits, or that family line habit. But like if I want something, I'm not afraid to say that I want something. Like when I go to, even just the little things, I go to a restaurant and I'm like, I call, they say, oh, there's no wait. And I'm there like 5 minutes later, and then I get there and it was like a 20-minute wait. I'm like, I just called and they said there was no wait. So, I'm not like, get us in, like I'm assertive, not being a dick, but I just will assert what I want. So there's aspects, it's funny because in the memory, it's like, oh, am I this person? But if you look the evidence, you'll find evidence of the opposite. It's just that we get into these identity traps where we think we are. So that was my dad's side of the family. My mom's dad on the side of the family was very interesting because I think there was a lot of anger, first off, on the German side. So my mom's dad was German. I guess a lot of Germans moved to Texas. And that's where my mom was born, Austin, Texas, before she moved to Vegas when she was young. But there's just a lot of heavy stuff within there as well. With my mom's mom and my mom's dad They divorced each other, and then they got back together a while later, but it was just super dysfunctional. And there was the sexual abuse, sexual trauma. And then my mom's mom, it's even crazier. My mom's mom was an alcoholic who had some type of drank so much that there was some type of mental issue. And there was, my mom, it's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to figure out how much I share. My mom's real name is Patty, and she doesn't like to be called Patty. And one of the reasons she doesn't like to be called Patty is because before my mom was born, there was another baby. His name was Patrick. And Patrick drowned in a pool. And after Patrick drowned in the pool, a couple years later, my mom was born. Here's the thing I didn't know, though, that's even crazier. It's going to be very, out there, sound kind of heavy, just so you guys know. My mom, before Patrick, there was another baby as well. And this baby supposedly died from playing with other kids and getting hit or something like that. And it died. To find out that actually my mom is almost certain that from the neglect of my mom's mom, this baby passed away. And the information that I learned in this ancestral healing is that what I think may have happened is my mom feeling neglect. And once that happened, by the way, the kids knew why that happened. My mom had brothers and sisters that knew why that happened, and they never trusted their mom or dad again from that situation. Think about it. You know one of the family members had something to do with one of your siblings dying. You would never trust them again, right? I think at a spiritual level, my mom may have been that soul coming in 2 or 3 times, neglected and drowned, and then coming through again. So I think my mom went through, that's what I think. I'm not 100% on this, but when I was in that ceremony, that's the kind of information that came through. So when it comes to me not really wanting to trust feminine energy, part of this could be that my mom hasn't been able to really trust that feminine energy because her mom was neglectful. And possibly my mom was the soul that came in twice before the 2 other siblings that passed away. That could have been my mom's soul coming through many different times. And the funny thing, Patty, it was the same name. That's why she doesn't like the name Patty. What if that's also a sign that was her name coming through each of those times? My mom doesn't even go by Patty. She kind of changed her name, but that's legally it is Patty. But I don't know. These things, I mean, there's more stuff too. But it's very interesting to me, and for me to go through these family last night was very heavy, especially on this dry fast. Going through healing, send energy, love to these different people who maybe got a little bit lost in 3D reality, got addicted to alcohol, became neglectful. You know, it's important to remember that people are doing the best they can with where they are. It doesn't excuse it and make it okay that it happened. But it does help us understand that people are doing things from their own level of consciousness. So as I did these exercises and healed, it has completely changed my own energy field. I feel free. I feel like I'm able to more easily have intimacy with women, to connect with them also, and there's no sexual shame that was subconscious that I couldn't understand why I felt blocked. Almost like as if when I was attracting, I'd attract women who had their own sexual blocks. And I'm like, well, I don't have this. I'm a very sexually expressive person, but it's a one-on-one reflection to that energy field. So the power of doing this ancestral healing is that when you go through it, you become free, and then these patterns go away, and then you allow new opportunities into your life. There's patterns in life depending on these things, these energies. And when you heal it, when you feel it, you heal it. And when you allow yourself to also go through with intention and do like a powerful exercise like this, it changes absolutely everything. My friend Bridget, she has this process, this ancestral healing process that has been life-changing for me, extraordinarily powerful. It's different exercises, questions you can ask your parents, and if they're alive or not alive, you can do that in meditation. There's exercises that are so powerful for cutting the energetic cords to the past, becoming aware of these ancestry things that may be affecting you. And if you want a special deal on it, I've already talked to her and she's allowing me to do this. Go to aarondoughty.com/family. So AARONDOUGHTY.com/family, FAMILY. And that link will take you to that ancestry healing course that I'm talking about. And you can join there. There's bonuses. It's the same process that I'm going through that is extraordinarily powerful. And there's bonuses that you'll get for going right there now as well, including maybe there's like Archangel activation bonus and other cool bonuses that go with that help with the healing process that I found to be very powerful. And this is the work that we're doing right now because we're at a time of transformation on the planet. And this shadow work, as we heal it, we're healing past timelines. And this is, I think, what we came here to do, this kind of work. And I'm going to bring Bridget on as well. We're going to do a whole episode on this. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit. There's more too. There's actually a lot more. But I want to save it for when I'm with Bridget as well because she can explain some of these things a little bit more. But yeah, I'm just telling you guys, there's a lot of things you may not, what you don't know, maybe affecting different patterns in your life. And when you heal it, it is a whole new free world that opens up. And you can send energy and love to your past timeline, to your parents, and your own parents, send love to them. And you can begin to heal. And in that ancestry healing course, that's what exactly step by step you're going to learn how to do. And I wanted to share that with you guys. So anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. If you guys liked it, could you screenshot it, share it on IGTV or on IG stories, and I'll be resharing those as well. And review the podcast if you haven't already. It really helps the podcast grow, and I really appreciate that. New episodes every Tuesday, Friday. There's also the second YouTube channel, if you didn't know about it, where I do the videos of this if you're on the audio. And it's Aaron Doughty Podcast is the name of that YouTube channel. It's also on my main profile. You'll see a link onto the side for it. And I post the videos there. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace, much love, and namaste.